Long ago, in a small village surrounded by thick forests and rolling hills, there lived a brave warrior named Ekene. Ekene was the pride of the village. He was strong, fearless, and kind-hearted. His name was whispered with respect by the elders and sung in praises by the children. He had saved the village many times from wild animals and raiders who came to steal crops and harm the people. The people of the village loved Ekene because he was not just a fighter but a protector of peace. When he wasn't training or guarding the village, he helped the farmers in their fields, played with the children, and even listened to the elders' stories by the evening fire. Everyone felt safe as long as Ekene was around. One year, the rains did not come. The sun beat down on the village every day, and the rivers dried up. The once green fields turned brown, and the wells grew shallow. The villagers prayed to the gods and danced for rain, but the skies remained clear. Soon, the crops failed, and there was not enough food to eat. The animals became weak, and the people grew thin. Worst of all, there was no water. Mothers had to walk for hours to find even a small puddle for their children to drink. One day, the village chief, an old and wise man named Obioma, called a meeting. "Our people are suffering," he said. "If we do not find water soon, our village will not survive. Does anyone have a solution?" The villagers looked at one another, but no one spoke. Finally, Ekene stood up. "Chief, I will go into the forest and find water. I will search until I succeed or until I can no longer walk." The people murmured in agreement. If anyone could save them, it was Ekene. Early the next morning, Ekene packed his spear, a small bag of food, and a water flask with the little water that remained. The villagers gathered to see him off. "May the gods guide you," Chief Obioma said, placing a hand on Ekene's shoulder. Ekene nodded and walked into the forest. The forest was vast and full of dangers. Ekene had to be careful. Wild animals roamed freely, and poisonous plants grew everywhere. But Ekene was determined. He followed dried-up streams and looked for signs of underground springs. He climbed hills and descended into valleys, searching for any sign of water. Days turned into weeks. Ekene grew tired and thirsty, but he refused to give up. He thought of the children in the village and the elders who had taught him everything he knew. Their faces gave him strength to keep going. One evening, as Ekene sat under a tree, too tired to walk any further, an old woman appeared. She seemed to come out of nowhere, carrying a walking stick and wearing a robe made of leaves. "Warrior, why do you look so troubled?" she asked in a soft voice. Ekene looked up, surprised. "I am searching for water to save my village. We are dying of thirst," he said. The old woman nodded. "You have a kind heart, young warrior. Perhaps I can help you. There is a secret spring deep in the heart of the forest. But reaching it will not be easy. Are you willing to make a great sacrifice?" "I will do anything to save my people," Ekene said without hesitation. The old woman smiled sadly. "Very well, follow me." The old woman led Ekene through the forest. She walked quickly despite her age, and Ekene had to push himself to keep up. They climbed steep hills, crossed thorny paths, and finally reached a hidden valley surrounded by tall trees. In the center of the valley was a small spring. Crystal clear water bubbled up from the ground, forming a sparkling pool. Ekene fell to his knees, overwhelmed with relief. "Thank you, wise one," he said. "This water will save my village." But the old woman's face was serious. "This spring is sacred," she said. "The water will not flow to your village on its own. Someone must become the river that carries it there." Ekene frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "You must give your life, young warrior," the old woman explained. "If you agree, the gods will turn you into a river that will flow from this spring to your village. Your people will have water, but you will never return to them as a man." Ekene's heart sank. He thought of his family, his friends, and all the people he loved. But then he thought of their suffering and the children crying for water. He closed his eyes and made his decision. "I will do it," he said. "If my sacrifice will save my people, I will gladly give my life." The old woman nodded. "You are truly brave. Come, stand in the spring." Ekene stepped into the cool water of the spring. As soon as his feet touched the water, a strange feeling washed over him. The ground shook, and the wind began to howl. The old woman raised her arms and chanted words that Ekene did not understand. Slowly, Ekene's body began to change. His arms and legs turned into streams of water, and his heart became the source of a mighty current. His voice echoed like thunder as he said his final words, "Tell my people I will always be with them." The water from the spring surged forward, carving a path through the forest. Trees fell, rocks split, and a powerful river was born, flowing straight to the village. Back in the village, the people were weak and hopeless. Suddenly, they heard a roaring sound. They rushed to the edge of the forest and saw a wide, beautiful river flowing toward them. The villagers screamed with joy and ran to drink the cold, clean water. Chief Obioma fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Ekene has saved us," he said. "This river is his gift to us." From that day on, the river became the lifeblood of the village. The crops grew again, the animals thrived, and the people were healthy and happy. The villagers named the river Ekene's River, and honored it every year with a great festival. They believed that Ekene's spirit lived in the river, watching over them and keeping them safe. Children would sit by the river and listen to its gentle murmurs, which seemed to tell stories of the brave warrior who had given everything for his people. The elders would say, "When you hear the river, you hear Ekene's heart beating for us." And so, Ekene's sacrifice was never forgotten. His love for his people flowed through the river, a reminder of the courage and selflessness that saved a village from ruin.